COVID-19 was a terrible bug. It caused a lot of people a lot of grief for a couple of years. But for some people, it's still causing them a lot of grief. And we're going to be talking about long-haul COVID symptoms and consequences of having that infection, and some things that you might be able to do about it to solve some of those problems. Let's talk about it. So I'm Dr. Patrick Jones from the Homegrown Herbalist School of Botanical Medicine, and this is Sherk Peck. Sherk is a dear friend of mine and is a physical therapist who developed a remarkable tool called the Rezzimax Tuner. So this is the tuner, and there's also another version for people that like to juggle called the mini tuner. But the Rezzimax Tuner is a medical device recognized by the FDA. It's registered by the FDA. That uses resonant vibrational frequencies to solve all kinds of problems. Well, what the heck does that have to do with COVID-19? What kind of things are we talking about, Sherk? What's going on?
Some of the biggest problems that we've seen with COVID-19 is the dysfunction in the cranial nerves. In particular, the sense of smell typically is one of the first signs. Well, that's the first cranial nerve.
Right.
All of these cranial nerves go in at brainstem level, and they're all important to help us keep the body functioning well. Well, one of the other symptoms that we see frequently is tinnitus or tinnitus, where we're having a dysfunction of those cranial nerves and their communication between the loss of sense of smell, the loss of sometimes the hearing mechanisms, and a little bit of the tinnitus. We've got, and sometimes vision disturbances. We've got a lot of dysfunction of those cranial nerves that go into why you don't feel very good and why you don't have energy and why you can't sleep very good.
Yeah. And it's funny because I go to these conferences to lecture on herbal medicine and natural health stuff. And, all day long at those conferences, I'm talking to people and answering questions, and they're wanting to know what they can do for this and what they can do for that. And it used to be that I might get a couple of 3 folks that had tinnitus, at a conference. But since COVID-19, it's like every 4th person has really bad tinnitus or really bad vertigo, or they can't smell, or they can't taste, or they have brain fog, And I think there's I've not done the research, and I didn't bring my clipboard to the conference to do it. But, it seems to me like there's been a huge upsurge in those kinds of issues since COVID-19. And I think it is because of the cranial nerve involvement and the coronavirus getting in there and jangling things up. So what are we doing? How are we fixing that?
So a couple of things that we've found very helpful. Now, most of our protocols involve the head and neck in some very important way, all of that geared towards balancing those cranial nerves. But in particular, we've found that one of the fastest ways to get the sense of smell and taste back on track that we've been researching lately is using our little flexible mouth device or mouth attachment. We'll put a drop or 2 of an herbal formula, or we'll put a drop or 2 of something as simple as lime or lemon on there, and put that in the mouth, run our frequencies through those cranial nerves at a real good rate, where the trigeminal nerve and all of the taste buds and the olfactory system, they're all getting a very concentrated dose of stimulus. And what we see by adding in visual systems and tongue and movements is that this cranial nerve dance helps them remember how to play together again.
Yeah.
They remember how to move and dance together. Oftentimes within just, weeks, we're seeing the sense of taste and smell reemerge in individuals that were told that once that's gone, it's gone and it'll never be back. But we're seeing it come back, and that starts them feeling a lot better. It starts them sleeping better and recovering from all kinds of daily life much, much better. Yep. Those are the things that we're seeing that make such a difference.
Yeah, and like Sherk said, that stimulation of neural pathways through the vibration, and it's all, there's different frequencies and different ranges of frequency and combinations of frequencies, and all that stuff is Sherk has, go over to his YouTube channel, the Rezzimax channel. He has all kinds of videos for fixing all kinds of things, and I'll put a link down in the description for that. But what I like about what you just said is in addition to that vibration, you can put other things on there to enhance and work with it. There's herbs too that can help nervous pathways remember their job, and the brain to remember its job, and the brain to heal from injury. Herbs like teasel, herbs like ashwagandha, herbs like Siberian ginseng, Panax ginseng. And when you put those in the mouth, if you put a few drops of tincture on that thing while it's vibrating in the mouth, the absorption through the mucous membranes of those phytochemicals in conjunction with that vibrational therapy, that's a pretty kind of a 1-2 punch to get your cranial nerves woken up and remembering what the heck their job is and quit being silly and start smelling the flowers again. But yeah, just an amazing tool. But he also, like I said, there's a lot of great video content, instructional content over on his channel, the Rezzimax channel, and I'll provide a link down in the description. But sometimes approaching something from more than one angle is extraordinarily powerful for healing and for helping the body to figure out what it needs to do next and how it needs to repair itself.
I like one of the things that you have shared with me, and that is that when you're taking a pill, oftentimes it's calibrated to do just one thing. But when you're taking an herbal formula that God created, it may have 20 different things that it's going to do to balance out other systems in the body at the same time. Well, when we can add in those resonant frequencies, when we can teach the vagus nerve how to hold its frequency at a higher level, when we can do all of these things in conjunction, we're just speeding up the process of healing for everybody.
Yep. And frequency is an extraordinarily accessible thing to the body. For some reason, frequency has a lot of healing, reestablishing neural connection. It just does all kinds of amazing things. I've been doing, acupuncture with tuning forks. We do auricular therapy with tuning forks. These vibrations, it's the same principle. And when you have different modalities that are working on fundamental things that the body understands and likes to use, and you combine them, the herbs, the vibration, all those things together can be really astoundingly powerful. And like I mentioned before, as an herbalist, sometimes I can't use herbs on somebody. That's no fun, They come up to the herbalist, and the first thing I ask him is, well, what pharmaceuticals are you on? And they're on a dozen. And, I can't do herbs with that drug and that drug. This herb will really not play well with that drug, so we can't do that, what I would usually do. But I can always do the tuner, I can always do that because it doesn't matter if you're pregnant. It doesn't matter if you're nursing. It doesn't matter if you're an infant. It doesn't matter if you're a puppy dog. The vibration is perfectly safe and has an extraordinary power to reboot and recalibrate and open up neural pathways, stimulate cranial nerves, stimulate the vagus, just get the whole body doing what it's supposed to do. So I'm a big fan.
Me too. I love our work together.
Yeah.
This may be another aside, but you were such a strong influencer on some of the resonant frequencies that we put into the device. I don't know if you remember, but years ago we used to use a device that we modified, and it would help a lot of people, but it wouldn't help them truly heal. But we had some discussions about the cat purring harmonics.
That's right.
And that's what we captured, and what we put into our device was we mechanized and found that perfect range of the purring of a cat, and created a tool based on those harmonic ranges.
Yep.
And now we've got a patent. It's a utility patent on that purring range.
There you go.
But it works so very, very well. In fact, our second device that we created, we actually put that cat face right into the device, because I just wanted to remember it's something that God created, but that purring range of a cat is phenomenal to help human and animal alike.
Yep.
To do really well.
Yep. And, they don't shed. You don't have to feed them. Much better pet.
No kitty litter. No kitty litter.
Anyway, and they work on cats because they know all about calming down with frequencies. Anyway, I'm Doc Jones from the Homegrown Herbal School of Botanical Medicine.
And Sherk Peck, physical therapist and inventor of the Rezzimax tools and techniques.
We appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. If you know somebody that's struggling with any of these kinds of issues, click that little share button so they can see what we're talking about here. And if you enjoyed it, click the like and subscribe, and we'll send you more information. Like I said, all the links to Sherk's information and where you can pick one of these rascals up. If you need a kitty that doesn't shed and can fix all kinds of things, I'll put a link down in the description. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.